You want to see God move in your life, but you're waiting for Him to act first. You're waiting for a sign, for clarity, for confirmation. Meanwhile, God's waiting too, for you. James puts it bluntly. So you see, faith by itself isn't enough. Unless it produces good deeds, it is dead and useless. Most people think faith means waiting for God to show up, but the Bible reveals something quite different. Faith means stepping out before you see the result. Here's the question that changes everything. What if your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of your obedience? Let's discover when and how to take that first step. God tests your faith with small asks before big miracles. Look again at Elijah and the widow in 1 Kings chapter 17. There's a devastating drought. The widow is down to her last handful of flour. She's about to make one final meal for herself and her son and then wait to die. Then Elijah shows up with an impossible request. Make me a little bread first. Notice what Elijah didn't ask. He didn't ask her to solve the drought. He didn't ask her to feed the whole village. Just one small loaf of bread. God works the same way with you. Stop waiting for clarity on the big picture. What's the next small step He's asking you to take? Maybe it's sending that text to invite someone to church. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation at work. Maybe it's volunteering for an hour in your community. Obey the small thing first. But here's what makes this really hard. The first step often feels like giving up what you can't afford to lose. The widow was asked to give from her last bit of flour. It felt impossible, irresponsible even. But that's exactly how God's invitations work. They feel risky. Sharing your faith when you feel inadequate. Giving time when you're already stretched. Offering forgiveness when you're still hurt. Starting that conversation when you're afraid of rejection. That uncomfortable feeling? That's exactly where faith grows. Now, here's the promise that changes everything. God's provision meets you in the step, not before it. The widow baked the bread, and then, and only then, the miracle began. There was always enough flour and olive oil left in the containers, just as the Lord had promised through Elijah, says verse 16. The flour and oil didn't multiply until after she started to obey. You won't see the full picture before you start. At work, you won't know how that difficult conversation will land until you actually have it. In your neighborhood, you won't know who will respond until you reach out. In your church, you won't feel ready until you serve. Take the step God's asking for. Trust Him to meet you there. And there's one more thing you need to know. Your obedience blesses people beyond yourself. The provision wasn't just for the widow. It fed her son, it fed Elijah. Her one act of faith sustained a whole household through the drought. When you step out in faith, God uses it. Your family sees it, your colleagues notice it, your community benefits from it. Your obedience creates a ripple effect you can't yet see. So here's what we've discovered today. Faith requires action. Small obedience precedes big miracles. God's provision meets you in the step, not before it, and your faith blesses others. This week, identify one small step of obedience God's asking you to take. Then do it before you feel ready. Tomorrow, we're tackling the question everyone's afraid to ask. What do you do when you've taken the step and nothing's changed? You won't want to miss it. So see you tomorrow.